and we have XRP center stage in DC and Dubai, folks. Let's get it rocking and rolling. We have a big live session coming up here on a Wednesday, November 8th date. After we watch DC FinTech Week, Brad Grindhouse taking center stage while we have the Swell Conference firing up in Dubai. What a beautiful time to be in the XRP community. And in this update, we're going to cover it all: current events, financial markets, and how we are taking advantage of the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. I am your host, Zach Rector, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here once again tonight for a late night session. Really appreciate you guys for hanging out with me on the late night. And then for those of you that are watching this after the fact, remember that we do have the podcast platform available too for you guys as well. Just tweeting this one out real quick, and let's roll. Okay. All right, so we're talking about XRP taking center stage in DC and Dubai tonight. We do see that Bitcoin was pumping earlier here. We're taking a look at this thing. Bitcoin back up to 36,600 right now. It's cooling off from where it was at. Actually, wait, no. Hold up. No, this thing's pumping as we speak. Never mind. No, I was thinking we were at 35,600. No, we're at 36,600 for your Bitcoin. Taking a look at this thing, getting dialed in here, live show here. Thank you for tuning in here. XRP back at 69 cents, hanging out sideways. And what's so funny is that I already see Bitcoin bros in my comment section. And this is what happens when you trigger the Bitcoin bros, right? And I'm not here for crypto tribalism. I just like having a little bit of fun. You know me. And so I make, fun of the Bitcoin bros a little bit. They're coming back in my comments already. They're saying, Bitcoin's pumping while XRP can't do anything. And if you look at Bitcoin, I mean, it's up 3% on the day right now. That's a nice little candle that we're looking at. That's fantastic, right? And I'm all here for it. Let me be very clear. I am all for here, a Bitcoin pump. I'm all for XRP going back up to 73 cents, doing a little something nice there. But when I'm calling for a pullback, when I'm calling for a correction, I am talking about the equities market. I'm talking about the worst crash in history for bonds. I'm talking about the real estate market. Crypto's already gone through its correction for the most part, and I've never been one that's been calling for another bottom to come in this bear market. I don't need to see Bitcoin go below 15K. I've just felt uncomfortable about the pumps that we've had off of the stablecoin manipulation that I'm seeing on chain. That's all this is, right? This does not feel real to me. It feels like we're being suckered in a Bitcoin bull trap rally that is based off of a Bitcoin spot ETF narrative, a little bit of hype, but it never did come to fruition. So that's the only thing that I'm being conscious of while I watch this take place. Now let's take a look here at the broader markets. The DXY hanging out sideways 105.5, 2-year sideways at 4926, and we see 449. The 10-year was back down here today. So it's interesting. The 2-year kind of moved sideways, but that 10-year did fall off. So folks starting to say, okay, maybe we're willing to take a little bit more risk here, and we're willing to buy these bonds on a 10-year note. And this is because folks are thinking that the Fed is about to pivot. And so I've already been listening to the CNBC talking head pundits, and I listen to these investment managers that come on to CNBC. And they're talking about managing, family portfolios, family office portfolios, institutional money, family offices. And these are really long-term holders of these equities positions. So they don't worry about small downturns like what we got right now. But I'm already seeing them flip. And I was listening to a chief investment officer. I forget who they were from, Goldman Sachs, or no, I think it was JP Morgan. But anyways, they were saying that they now think that going long 5 years is the sweet spot, is what they said. And I love listening to them dance around, the fact that their portfolios have been giving off pretty, abysmal performance over the last 2 years, right? I mean, they topped out and they've been doing all right for the equities. But the problem is that we just had the worst year ever for the bonds. And that makes up typically 30 to 40% of one's portfolio. And this is why so many, traditional money managers got caught off guard. But I'm listening to these guys and they're saying now we can go a little bit more long on the treasuries. And I'm trying to break this down so that everybody can understand this on a more simple level. The mindset of the Wall Street and the money managers, where they want to steer your 401k retirement account, right? Is they're saying now we can go longer bonds. We don't want to go to 10-year, 20-year, type bonds, but 5-year is now acceptable. And you're seeing these returns that are pretty attractive for the institutions and for the big money that's just trying to figure out, how do we not lose our shirt, right? I mean, let alone trying to catch a nice investment gain. A lot of these guys are right now just trying to salvage what they got and not take another 10 to 20% haircut, just like they did last year. And that's the problem with these money managers. Listening to them do their dance on CNBC, I get a little bit of a joy out of it. And I'm trying to learn, right? The mindset of these guys that are managing pension funds for retirees, they're managing family offices and investors where they have a long-term view. And so this is the narrative that they run with so that you don't panic when you're wondering why your 401k took another hit. Right? That's the problem that we find ourselves in. XRP blinder dropping a 5 spot. I'm going to have to move into your Pacific Standard Time shed if these midnight meetings keep up. LOL. Evening, my friends. XRP, my man. We hit it at all time of days, don't we? And I'm telling you right now, we're about to flip the switch on our content. We're going to be dropping a couple videos per day here, and it's just going to be nuts with the live shows. I'm hoping not to have to do them late night going forward, but I got to get it where I can. We're staying busy these days, and it's just an absolute blessing to be coming here on a daily basis, like to be able to spend a couple hours per day putting out content and actually there's hours of research and putting it and compiling it that goes into an hour-long live. Right, I don't just pull up here and I try to put this thing together so that I can keep it as clean and concise as possible. And I have an understanding that I am going to be ranting for 45 minutes to an hour as I cover so much in these live shows. But I just had the pleasure of dropping our first tactical wealth lesson. That was over for our exclusive Patreon and Discord community. And I was able to make that about a 25-minute lesson, like we were pulling up into the classroom, right? And that was a 25-minute, and it was so tight. And we packed in the value. And the first topic for the tactical wealth lesson was trust. It was on trust. So many people have been asking me about trust, right? I want to do charitable remainder trust. I want to do a trust that I can still maneuver with. And so we broke down the basics, the 3 components that make up trust. We broke down the benefits of being in a trust, and we added that as the first tactical wealth lesson, the first of many. And I'm so excited to keep on bringing this content to you guys. We have so much in the works for this community right now. It's just, I'm so excited with the momentum behind what we got going. With that being said, let me get right on into this update. I see that Missy dropped a 10 spot. Missy, I appreciate you dropping the dancing gal emoji. The vibes are right. I wish I could play a little bit of music too in the background too sometimes when we're going through these market updates, like the good old days of TikTok, right? Little music playing in the background. Let's get it rocking and rolling though. We got a lot to cover. Without further ado, I appreciate everyone for stopping by tonight. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for having a good time here with me. And it is 8:42 on the West Coast, so let's rock and roll. Current events to start the night. Yemen Houthis shoot down a U.S. MQ-9 drone. And so we have a situation here where it looks like we have a U.S. drone that has been shot down. We take a look at the retaliation. United States military has just carried out multiple airstrikes in eastern Syria with widespread and heavy explosions being reported. I think that I missed it. This is going to be kind of like Ukraine, where you can't even keep track of how much money and how much weapons we're sending to this country. But we just sent more. It was hundreds of millions of dollars worth of military equipment to Israel. We're seeing that we've sent more striker groups, more destroyers, aircraft carriers. We're putting metal and hardware on the ground nearby. We're also putting, jets ready to take off. Situation picking up here as the population of Gaza is being forced down to that southern area of Gaza, down to the southern border of Egypt and others. And it's looking like a the situation is going to carry on here for a bit longer as the U.S. wants to reject a ceasefire. They reported that here today. They haven't wanted to admit that. They don't want to call it that, but they've rejected the ceasefire, just like Israel is rejecting the ceasefire as well. Looks like they're trying to take that land up north, the northern part of the Gaza territory. But then there's also, real stoked tensions in that region. And so we could see this thing carry out. Lebanon's already getting involved. We have the strikes by the U.S. military in Syria taking place within the last 24 hours. This was reported this afternoon. And so this is all a developing situation that we continue to cover. And it's just crazy how numb we have all gotten to this type of news, right? World War III in Ukraine. Now it's breaking out in Israel, Gaza. And, I'm not laughing. It's incredible where we're at in this timeline where we've gotten so succumbed to just seeing events breaking on a daily basis, right? And the main thing that I keep on bringing this back to is that we got to understand what we can control, right? We can't maybe prevent World War III. We can't prevent these events that are going to take place. We can't prevent the cyber attacks that just take place in Australia. We had the banks down last weekend again. I mean, that's just regular news too. Oh, banks are down again this weekend. It's not all of them, but we have some major banks that were down, banking issues across the United States last weekend, and that's just another regular issue. And you know what I do every time I hear that the banks are going down. I'm pulling out a little bit more cash. We go buy a little bit more silver, and we go buy a little bit more XRP. And this is the situation at hand, folks, is that this doesn't look like it's going to let up. And what I'm seeing right now in the bond and the treasury market is they're pricing in a recession and they're pricing in a Fed pivot coming in next year. We're seeing that reflected in this chart right here. UK Brent oil, we've been continuing to watch this one stair step down below $80 per barrel. We were just above 90, back up to 94, right? And then, earlier this month in October, 19th of September, and then back here at 27th of September, we were at 95, 2 times off of 95, and then we were off here about 94 last month in October, and now we've come on down to $80. And so what a lot of folks are saying is that the oils market is, the oil futures market is pricing in a recession, it's pricing in a downturn, because this is on the back of the news that the Russia and Saudi Arabia and the broader OPEC countries are actually going to continue the oil production cuts throughout the rest of the year. And I think that they know that a recession is here. They know it's going to get tight. And so that's why they're going to cut. So they're going to cut production so they're not bringing on too much supply onto the market. Now, like I said, we have this current event situation breaking down. I'll continue to update you guys in that regard. But in tonight's episode, I actually have a lot of crypto news to cover. We're going to get right on into the crypto news here with U.S. Congressman Tom Emmer says that SEC Chair Gensler is as ineffective as he is incompetent. And I'm going to play this clip right here where he's talking about and specifically mentioning all of the SEC big fat losses that they have just taken. And the Ripple case is the first one that he mentions. Let's listen in here on Tom Emmer. This is in the halls of our Congress here today.
Last year, the SEC's Director of Enforcement admitted during a House Financial Services Committee hearing that the SEC pursues enforcement actions on entities that are actually outside of its jurisdiction. One of these extra-jurisdictional enforcement cases was the SEC's landmark crypto enforcement case against Ripple, alleging that XRP is a security. In July, the Southern District of New York sided against the SEC, asserting that XRP is not itself a security. In August, the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit found the SEC to be acting arbitrarily and capriciously in its refusal to approve Grayscale's Bitcoin spot ETF application. And just last month, the Government Accountability Office found the SEC to have created an illegal crypto accounting rule that is actually out of compliance with the Administrative Procedure Act and the Congressional Review Act. The unique characteristics of digital assets make it hard to fit this asset class into any existing regulatory framework. That doesn't mean crypto is up for grabs by whatever federal bureaucratic agency has the most taxpayer-funded enforcement resources.
Yep. Amen. God bless him. I'm going to cut him off there, Tom. That's great. We love to hear it. But we need some accountability. Why haven't we subpoenaed Gary Gensler yet? Now, this is a bombshell. I forgot to put this into the show here tonight. This is a bombshell that I meant to cover, though, in the current events. They just did subpoena. I can't say the names. I forgot. That's why I didn't put it in the show notes. I forgot I can't say these names. But they did. The House Oversight Committee did just subpoena some names in relation to our White House, a little family operation dealings. I'll just leave it at that. They did subpoena them. And I retweeted this out today and I said, do Gary Gensler next. Tom Emmer's over the target. That's great. We've been over the target. Now let's issue the dang subpoena. Bring Gary Gensler in here. Force them to comply. You guys are just asking them for simple information. And on this rulemaking that they're trying to do, they won't give you any answers. As Tom Emmer points out here, they have just taken, multiple big fat losses in judges ruling against them. Just completely getting exposed. And so Stephen Arioff responds and he says, I think that Tom Emmer, you're wrong. Chair Gensler is very effective and competent at helping the incumbents and those he favors, just not at protecting investors. Stephen's on target. He seems confused about his duties. Did HR forget to give him a job description when he started? No, that's the whole thing about Gary Gensler and why he was put there, right? An unelected bureaucrat, just like Tom Emmer's talking about. This market is not up for, a power struggle over the bureaucrats. It needs to be Congress that issues the laws and the rules, and then it's up to the SEC to enforce those rules. Now, it is not supposed to be the role of the SEC to keep on filing lawsuits until you get turned down by a court, right? And while you seek out where your jurisdiction is drawn, and a line in the sand is drawn. And how many times are you going to lose, and how big are the damages? Brad Garlinghouse was just saying today on DC FinTech Week, as he took center stage, about how they've had to spend $150 million on the lawsuit, and there's basically no repercussion. There's no accountability. They defeated the SEC, but does anybody at the SEC lose a job? Does anybody at the SEC have to pay? No. And this is why I think that Brad and the team, they need to flip this thing on them. They should. Now, I understand why they don't want to, because they want to get that IPO. That's why Brad and the team there at Ripple, they're not really going to go after the SEC. They're not going to file a case for damages, in my opinion. I'm just sharing my opinion right now. Because they need to get that IPO. That's all they want. Ripple just wants to be able to operate their business, right? But like Tom Emmer says, they've lost to Ripple, they've lost to Grayscale, another loss there on basically we just covered the case there, where they can't just decide, oh, we're going to issue fines against you if no investors were harmed. Your whole mission is to protect investors, and if nobody was harmed, no harm, no foul, you can't just serve up a fine that you pull out of your what. And that's their whole business model as they collect billions of dollars in fines, penalties, and disgorgements. Now, John Reed Stark, who is a former SEC Office of Internet Enforcement, so this guy used to work for the SEC. He's a big shill for the SEC. John Reed Stark. The SEC just filed their opposition to Binance's motion to dismiss. The comprehensive pleading is powerful, compelling, and strongly supported in both fact and law. Stick a fork in it, Binance. You're done. And this is the problem that I've been talking about with this crypto space, is we have exposed ourselves. Binance chief, this is the preliminary statement response, right? This is the SEC's response filing their opposition to Binance's motion to dismiss. This lawsuit against Binance, of course, they file a motion to dismiss, and the SEC, in their preliminary statement, they pull a direct quote from the Binance chief compliance officer, crudely but succinctly summed up this case when he admitted that Binance was, quote, operating a effing unlicensed security exchange in the USA, bro. Now, you know how much I love this, because I talk about the crypto bros. I talk about the Bitcoin bros, the trust me bros, the I got a deal bros. And now we got the operating as a effing unlicensed security exchange in the USA bros. That's what Binance was. in their own words of their chief compliance officer. And so this is what I've been saying, is that the SEC has plenty of ammunition to go after a lot of these companies. We'll see how far they get with Binance. They've gotten completely turned down in the SEC case, and they've had to surrender their charges against Brad and Chris. So the SEC is getting significant pushback on one end, but on the other end, I mean, golly, talk about serving it up on a platter for them. In his own words, we're operating an effing unlicensed securities exchange in the USA, bro. And this is the problem. This is the crackdown. And as we just reported on yesterday, the Biden administration is actually seeking new powers and capabilities to come after the cryptocurrency space. So they're coming for us. And today we see that we get a bill proposed in the United States government outlining government use of, I'm not going to say that country's name, but outline the government use of that country's made blockchains and Tether, which we know where Tether comes from. We know where Bitcoin comes from, right? A whole lot of manipulation. We know where Bitcoin and Ethereum, most of it was getting mined at before this country decided to ban mining in their country. The flip-flop that this country has done in crypto has just been so incredible. But as Truth Labs, one of the best sleuths in our community, says, this country has made a lot of blockchains, and where they aren't developing them, they are invested heavily in them. So much so that they are controlling interest. Just look at Ethereum and all of their involvement around the ecosystem. They are behind Prometheum. It says it in their filings that the SEC approved in 2020. Yesterday, I told you of their involvement on-chain with USDT. You can look up Boring Sleuth, CCP, and find all sorts of research. The head of CCP-controlled Wangsheng blockchain and key official of Longling Capital and Prometheum is Dr. Bo Fang. Wangsheng is who set up and funded Vitalik Buterin and the Ethereum Foundation's wallets and had invested in over 500 cryptocurrencies by 2021. And you add this to the amount of IPOs that Jay Clayton and the gang allowed to go through, the amount of fraud that they allowed to get dumped on our U.S. capital markets was ridiculous. You have to understand, Jay Clayton and the gang at the SEC, they've been approving all these IPOs out of this country that are a bunch of fraud. And Jay Clayton and his buddies get in on the biggest IPO ever done with that Alibaba deal, right? It's a complete joke, the amount of fraud that they've allowed to get. And it's a damn shame, actually. It really pisses me off, actually, because this is 401ks and retirement accounts that have gotten put into these frauds out of this country. Meanwhile, they come after legitimate companies like Ripple. Dr. Fang stated in March of 2019 that this country should be the first mover into CBDCs and stablecoins, and just their name alone would be enough backing a stablecoin that they wouldn't actually need any real assets or money backing it. Wow. How about that? How about that program? How about the rampant fraud that I'm talking about? I told you guys the story about my mentor, Dan Pena. Him and his son, they went to go buy a bunch of operations over in that country. They rented a helicopter to go check all the operations. There was a dozen different operations that they were going to go take a look at. So his son rented them a chopper. They went to fly around and look at them. They didn't exist. This is standard operating procedures for this country. It's ripe with fraud. I mean, look at the ghost cities. And we saw and we heard from Robert Kiyosaki. He talked about launching a gold mining operation. As soon as they found gold within that country, the government just took over his operation. They took over the gold mine as soon as he struck gold. So two guys that I listened to, right? Robert Kiyosaki, my mentor, Dan Pena, both of them know. and those are two lessons that I'm glad that I get to learn from them on. But we see the same thing when we bring this into the cryptocurrency space. You all seriously think that Tether is backed. How many other protocols aren't backed like FTX, Binance, OKC, Unb? I could go on and on. The days are numbered. The word on the truth is spreading. Stay safe, stay curious. And this for me is just why I've been reiterating the point, guys. So many folks in the space, Tether is the number one used stablecoin. And USDC has been gaining market share because a lot of folks have been worried about Tether this year. But for me, I don't really like either one. But if I had to choose one, Tether is not a deal that I like doing. And although it's, there's been a lot of FUD and it's been able to ride out significant amount of FUD. It's been able to ride out the liquidity crisis, FTX collapsing. Tether is still here, but we still haven't seen those reserves. And it's for me, I'm just not willing to take that counterparty risk. I'd rather hold XRP in my cold storage wallet with no counterparty risk. If I'm looking to hold something, a stable coin, I'll hold silver, no counterparty risk. I got it in my vault. If I want to hold a crypto with no counterparty risk, is it stable? No. but is it going to go up over the next decade? Yes. I got my XRP. Right. Now, to confirm where we're at in the timeline, the Bank of Russia will be creating a digital ruble payment system with the United Arab Emirates. And you have to remember that the UAE already has XRP ODL live, and the Bank of Russia already did a significant proof of concept with the XRP ledger back years ago. So they understand that deal, but right now we're seeing it confirmed that they're looking to do digital payment systems outside of the US and outside of the USD. And they are going to be issuing their own CBDCs, and the whole trade settlement is now moving away from the US dollar. This is a battle and a real power struggle that's underway. And for me, I just find that we are in the best spot with a company in Ripple that is responsibly being the righteous custodians of the future world reserve currency, XRP. They are working with financial institutions, and I'm going to get into XRP taking center stage, Brad Garlinghouse's comments on DC FinTech Week. But before I get to DC FinTech Week and Brad basically dominating the stage in DC, just like we always do when we show up, Ripple always shows out. Brad Garlinghouse always shows out. But we're not just showing up, and doing a little conference, doing a little speech. We're getting real institutional adoption behind the scenes, but now it's coming out for everyone to see. This is the veil getting lifted, and every single day, that veil's getting lifted a little bit more, and you see another new deal. And the last, 48 hours has been nuts. I mean, this year's been nuts. I mean, from the victories on the legal battlefield, from the most recent Uphold partnership announcement, from the Medico acquisition, we're going to get into Medico's deal. They're going to be providing custody for HSBC today was announced. It's just one deal after another. And so I'm going to get into the deals that were announced today. This is all coming out of Swell, the Ripple Swell conference getting started here today. Just in an interview with Ripple partner Euro XM Bank CEO Kaushik Punjani, quote, "We have always been a leader and therefore we're amongst the first few banks to participate and adopt the Ripple technology, including on-demand liquidity." So you are seeing that these institutions are getting the competitive advantage and they're leaning into being leaders in the space by using XRP. XRP with the 10 spot. He says, "You do an incredible job, brother. Always impressed with what you've built and your delivery. I'm very happy to be a part of your fam here with you. Good thing await us. Have a good show. We'll catch up tomorrow. Good night, brother. Good night, my friend. Thank you for the support." Thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother. Oh, man. I love your guys' comments in the chat. Keep on killing it in the chat. And if you guys can, please do me a big favor by sharing this one out. Let everyone know on Twitter that we're just getting the party started. We have Bitstamp CTO, and you have to remember, right, that Ripple acquired a majority stake in the company Bitstamp. Well, I guess they don't have a majority stake. They have a significant stake. And this is in Bitstamp, which is one of the leading exchanges for XRP volume right now. But we're seeing that they got the CTO of Bitstamp, James Greenwood, and Ripple's Pat Thelen discuss where the industry is headed with increasing regulatory clarity on day one of Ripple Swell. Let's listen in on what he has to say.
Next 12, 18.
Any closing comments as it relates to where the industry is headed?
Now we've got, in a lot of regions, real clarity on the regulations around that. I think the next 12, 18 months of delivering against that as they come into effect, as the solutions come matching that, and as the market has now hopefully stabilized, is now starting to pick up a little. I think seeing how the start of this next cycle runs is going to be really interesting as a predictor for how quickly that moves.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time, absolutely. And that partnership is key, along with this partnership with On Afric. 3 new corridors with Ripple payments. Now remember, this is MFS Africa, which remember, when I dropped the video and I said that 5 BRICS nations are already using on-demand liquidity, the 5th partnership was in the continent of Africa, because we were talking about MFS Africa, which already works within 40 countries inside of that continent. So this company had already fired up Corridor in dozens of countries within the African continent. But as I was saying, this On Afric is the rebranded MFS Africa, same company though, and they have now launched 3 new corridors with Ripple payments: Pay Angel in the UK, Pipple in the GCC, and Zazi Transfer in Australia. So I don't know if we have any Aussies in the chat tonight, but huge shout out to the Aussies. We have Australia going live, we have UK going live, and we have the GCC going live. I don't even know. What is the GCC? I have to look that up real quick. Excuse me. The Gulf Cooperation Council. Of course. And this is so massive. We've been firing it up, and Ripple's Swell Conference taking place in Dubai. We're just dominating in the Middle East, and we're dominating in the APAC, which is the Asia Pacific region. But when you look at North Africa, and then you look at the Middle East, that region, MENA, Middle East and North Africa, we have just been killing it. And so the GCC incorporates Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. And so this is absolutely massive. Another one. We see this one here. This is going to be, like I said, On Afric. I got to remember their new name, On Afric, which used to be MFS Africa. And that was one of the 5 countries partnerships where ODL was already live, right? We know it's live in Brazil. What was the other ones? It was 5 BRICS nations that were already live. It was Brazil. It was the UAE. It was basically 40 plus countries in Africa, and then there was a few others too. But once again, we absolutely love to see another major announcement today. HSBC announced that it is working with Medico as it plans to launch a new digital assets custody service for institutional clients who invest in tokenized securities. Now, you have to remember that Ripple acquired the whole company of Medico. So when you see or hear Medico, you need to think Ripple, because it's just another arm of Ripple, right? They're not bringing it into Ripple's company as far as giving the CEO of that company, Medico, still has, it's Adrian Treccani is the CEO of Medico. He still has, his own business over there, right? They're giving him his own discretion. And he's in control of that company. But we just covered, this is so crucial, HSBC, one of the first banks to issue tokenized gold. And we covered how HSBC has already done multiple proof of concepts, has already been in discussions with Ripple, no real partnership already nailed down. But now we see that we have a direct partnership with Medico, is going to be doing digital asset custody service for institutional clients who invest in tokenized securities. And I got a new video that's going to be dropping tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you guys are subscribed, hit that notification bell. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm dropping a video on 2.5 quadrillion running through the DTCC, which is one of the largest platforms and networks for settling securities. And the DTCC just acquired Securency, which is a company that is on the forefront, leading edge of issuing tokenized securities. This is the future, and HSBC just announcing the tokenized gold for their institutional clients. Now we're seeing that they're going to use Medico for institution custody of tokenized securities. It's all here. It's all happening, and all roads do lead back to Ripple. Now, one of the big announcements that we got here today was the introduction of Ripple payments, right? I covered this in last night's live show, introducing Ripple payments, the next evolution of Ripple payments product, delivering a licensed end-to-end solution for financial institutions and small to medium enterprises with 70 plus payout markets, expanded crypto liquidity options, integration with the XRP Ledger DEX, and much more. Now, I actually kind of overlooked the fact that they mentioned that they're going to be using the XRP Ledger DEX, but this has been the big whole ordeal with why folks say On-demand liquidity doesn't impact XRP price. On-demand liquidity isn't going to make us rich. Well, we have some exciting news here that now it's all moved into Ripple payments, RippleNet, ODL. We had X Current, X Via, X this, X that. Very simply, we now have Ripple payments. That's it. Ripple payments. And you have 70 plus payout markets, and it's end-to-end solution. So what they've always talked about, right, was that they didn't have the last mile part of the settlement done. Now this is done, and it's through partnerships like Uphold, because Uphold taps into 30 plus exchanges. They got their broker-dealer license for securities. So you'll be able to trade your crypto, your precious metals, and your stocks all in one platform. That's a massive deal. But then this is end-to-end solution for financial institutions and small to medium enterprises with 70 plus payout markets, expanded crypto liquidity options, and integration with the XRP Ledger DEX. And our good friend Neil Hartner, who is the senior staff software engineer at Ripple working on on-demand liquidity. We've had the pleasure of having him on our spaces in the past. Exciting news that Ripple will be leveraging XRPL DEX for cross-border payments. So like I'm saying, on-demand liquidity was running through centralized exchanges. Now we are going to be utilizing the XRPL DEX for cross-border payments, and this is through Ripple's new product, Ripple Payments. This project has been a main focus of mine this year, and I'm hoping to share more technical details in the future about why the XRPL DEX is an awesome fit for on-demand liquidity. So our good friend Neil is absolutely killing it, but then someone asked him, now congrats, but how complicated would it be to also integrate with the AMM once it is enabled on mainnet? Now, we've all been talking about the AMM, right? The automated market maker, also known as the automated money maker. We're super excited for it. But Neil Hartner responds and he says, zero effort because the AMM is integrated to the DEX, so you don't even need to know it's there. Folks, the XRPL will automatically use the AMM to match your trade offers if the AMM can provide a better rate than the order books. This is smart route path finding. Let me re-say that. This is smart route ordering. It's already built into the XRPL DEX. And when the AMM gets enabled, you won't even know it's there. And so with zero effort, this will be integrated into the back end. And now you're seeing that Ripple is in fact going to be using the XRPL DEX. And to report on the AMM voting, we do have a fresh update from our good friend Gardy here on Twitter. Breaking, we have XRPL update. AMM validator voting 12 yays. So we have now reached a 34% consensus. So yesterday we reported that we were at 11 yes votes. Now we're at 12. So we are on the path of progress. Our trusted validators, when are you guys going to let us get rich? And I did take advantage of this to throw some more crap at Daniel from Casino Coin. I retweeted this one out and I asked, was this Daniel or is he still holding the XRPL hostage? Got to give Daniel a little bit of crap. But this is what we love to see is major institutional players seeking out the business offerings and products and services of Medico. We see it also with Ripple. And now we see that the AMM is coming. And this is all going to be integrated on the back end of Ripple payments. And this is going to lead to XRP usage. This is going to use the XRPL DEX, and this is going to have an impact on price. I beg to differ. I've always argued that the on-demand liquidity did impact price because at the end of the day, you know, if we're really getting down to the nuts and bolts of how it works, you still need a supply of XRP available for on-demand liquidity. So in a way, it is locking up some XRP for that on-demand liquidity volume, right? So in that essence, it is taking some supply that does impact price at the end of the day. Now, folks have argued that we weren't getting rich off of ODL and all the new ODL partnerships don't matter, bro, because, you know, it's not running through the DEX, it's running through centralized exchanges. Well, that's not going to be the case anymore. And at the end of the day, Ripple's working to become a one-stop shop for the best liquidity in the world, and that's what's being done. Now, as we titled this session here today, XRP takes center stage in DC and Dubai. Brad Garlinghouse was asked, can the US still be a leader in the cryptocurrency market? Now, a bunch of the clips that were coming out and shared on Twitter are coming out at a super low volume. So I'm not going to play any clips from Brad Garlinghouse, but I did want to show you guys, I want to show you guys, just look at how he leans back and how comfortable Brad Garlinghouse is as he takes the stage here in DC today. Just look at how comfortable and lean back in his chair Brad Garlinghouse is after she asked him this question.
As you just said, you'll take it to the Supreme Court if you have to. You will ride this out, fight it in the court until it is done if the SEC appeals. There's no chance that you would end up settling in some way.
Well, that's a slightly different question. I mean, look, we've talked a little bit about this publicly now. I was offered the ability to settle prior to, they didn't just sue Ripple, they sued me.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to cover that. You guys see Brad there? I mean, come on. The guy looks so cozy. So classy as ever in his presentation today. I listened to the whole thing. I'm going to go through it again tomorrow probably and pull some of the clips that were the best. But I did take some notes here on the best of what Brad had to offer. It was so beautiful, though. Just seeing how comfortable he was on stage. He leans back there, and that was the interesting thing is that he said, of course, we are willing to go to the Supreme Court. And he noted how the Supreme Court has been ruling against the regulators, against the SEC, against the Department of Energy. The Supreme Court's been ruling against all of the three-letter agencies. And so he says that, yes, we are willing to go to the Supreme Court. And yes, he was given an opportunity to settle. This is why I have so much respect for Brad Garlinghouse. This man stood up along with Chris Larson, along with the company Ripple, and they cut a really fat check, and they put their whole family and livelihood on the line, and they chose not to settle. As maybe you just heard him, it was really quiet on the volume, but maybe you could hear him. He said that, yes, we're willing to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and that in addition to that, they were given the opportunity to settle, but he didn't, right? And it was so funny because Brad, he was welcoming Gary Gensler on stage, right? And he joked at the moderator. He said, well, if you want to ask Gary whether or not they're going to appeal, you can, he'll be coming up here shortly. And you can see how confident he was. He was welcoming a conversation with Gary Gensler, welcoming meeting Gary Gensler, and welcoming going into the SEC. He was saying, I'd love to. I want to be able to lean into this. This is what we need in the U.S. is for the SEC to actually open up their doors as he leaned back in his chair and he looked as comfortable as ever, right? And the other main takeaway that I wanted to share from what he had to say is that although XRP has won the case, Ripple has won the case on, and as Brad stated today, on basically all points that matter, Ripple has won. Although we have that victory, many of the banks, he says that Ripple already has U.S. banks as partners, which for all those folks that are saying that, Ripple's pivoting away from banks, no banks are working with Ripple. No, he confirmed on stage today that they do have banks as partners. But he's saying that the feedback that they're getting right now is that although Ripple has won their case, they're saying, hey, Brad, that's great. But we're still not ready to go into the crypto space because of the uncertainty around this space and because the SEC has launched Operation Choke Point and they're coming after the space so heavily that we still can't move in, Brad. We would love to move into digital assets. We would love to use XRP for a competitive advantage, but we're still worried that we're going to get taken down by the SEC. And so this is something that we're going to see, though, over the next year. And Brad noted how it's really become a political issue, which is so unfortunate. This is something that he believes should be bipartisan, and I believe should be bipartisan. This is something that both sides of the aisle can get behind, which is passing regulatory framework, because this space brings more inclusion to our financial markets. It brings more inclusion and fairness to our payments. And at the end of the day, Brad noted how the people that are getting impacted the most by the lack of uncertainty and the lack of clarity are the folks that are still having to send billions of dollars and hundreds of billions of dollars of fees in cross-border payments and in remittances because of the incumbents holding the payments sector hostage. They've got the toll booth on the payments, and they don't want to give that up. And so, although Ripple's already partnered with U.S. banks, although Ripple's already won this lawsuit on most points, I think that at the end of the day, what we need to see settled up is we need to see that institutional sales that Judge Torres did find was an investment contract securities offering. Once that gets settled up, once that gets behind us, then institutions will know how they can buy XRP. They already know that they can use XRP for its utility, and they won't be using it or offering or selling a security. But they need to know how they can acquire XRP without getting in trouble. They need to know how they can acquire these digital assets, how they can custody these digital assets. And that's still the framework that we're waiting for. Now, I will say this. I didn't actually listen to Gary Gensler's comments other than I listened to about 5 minutes, and it was absolutely ridiculous how he tried to say that we already have digital assets and we've had digital currencies forever because we had the telegraph. That was the most stupid thing I've ever heard. He tried to say that the telegraph, I guess that's an electronic message sent, that constitutes, having digital currency. What is he talking about? But I'll tell you this. I took a look at him on stage there, and he looked like a ghost. Like there was just no life in the guy. It was just a shell of a person there. There was no soul. It was a lifeless body on stage, right? And the metaphor that he tried to share there, the telegraph, relates to digital currency. It was like, what are you talking about, dude? And he was given a bunch of softball questions. He wasn't really pressed, and he did his usual Gary Gensler dance, as always. But the point being, folks, is that we have to understand, we have DC FinTech Week is one of the biggest deals now in basically the fintech space and in DC with regulators, with lawmakers, and with all of the agencies. Right, we had representation from the Treasury Department, from the FCA, which is the equivalent of the SEC in the UK. They showed up. We saw Gary Gensler there. We saw Mike Novogratz is showing up. We saw Grayscale showing up. And you literally have two of the keynote speakers being Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, and it was the CEO of Galaxy Digital, I believe, who are showing up. Two companies that just beat down the SEC in court are the keynote speakers at this DC FinTech Week. It shows you that the space has no option but to be accepted and to be leaned into by the incumbents. And they're finally getting around to it. And today's announcement that HSBC is going to be tokenizing gold for their institutional clients confirms that. Along with the announcement today that HSBC is going to be using Medico. And I mean, one would speculate that there might be a deal there to be had between HSBC and Ripple as well, too. But like Brad said, we're still waiting for Congress. We're still waiting for regulatory framework here in the United States. Meanwhile, they have set up, and he was asked directly, do you think that the U.S. still can be a leader in the crypto market? He says, yes, but every day that goes by, that window of opportunity is passing. And if we don't get our game together here soon, we are going to be passed up by Singapore, Dubai, and London. Now, the second largest office for Ripple is London. They still have the majority of their company is in San Francisco, is in the United States. They have offices in San Francisco, New York, and I don't know if they have any other U.S. offices. I think just San Francisco and New York. But nonetheless, the company is still a majority U.S. company, and Brad Garlinghouse says that he would love to keep it that way, but 80% of their hiring is happening outside the U.S. right now because of legal uncertainty. And because they're just thriving in these jurisdictions, as soon as they have the green light, just like they got in Dubai, you're seeing every single day that veil is getting lifted. And eventually the whole veil gets lifted and we get to see the complete Ripple endgame, which is mass adoption for XRP wholesale payments on the back end of the new financial system. And London comes in as the second largest office for Ripple. That is the existing financial capital of the world. When you look at the existing incumbent, some might call them the cabal, right? You have the financial capital of the world is based out of London. You have the political military arm of the cabal is based out of DC. And then you have the religious, the church is Vatican, based out of the Vatican. And those are the three jurisdictions. It's basically the Bank of London, the Vatican City. They're under their own jurisdictions. They're their own thing. And then when you look at DC, what DC was a corporate entity that hijacked this country in 1871. And so we've been hijacked. This country's been hijacked by a corporation that doesn't represent the people. And then that was just reaffirmed when we handed over the purse and we handed over the monetary policy to the Federal Reserve and currency issuance to the Federal Reserve, an entity that is not federal and doesn't have reserves. And that's how they facilitate the funding of this operation of a hijacked country, of a cabal operation that has held back all of the new companies like Ripple and others. They said, whoa, hold up. Let us get our ducks in the row. Let us send 15 executives to the offices of Ripple because we need to strong arm Ripple. We need to get us some XRP. And this is what the incumbents have been doing while they employ Gary Gensler and the three-letter bureaucracy beast to go after these new kids on the block while the incumbents can get their ducks in the row. And they want to keep everything within their pyramid scheme, which is the existing 401k retirement program. That's where they want to keep everyone, right? And right now, what this space is doing is it's bringing a democratized equities market and a financial market to the people. They don't like that. Cuts out the fees on the financial advisors and the money managers. Cuts out the fees on the cross-border payments, and it really disrupts the business model of the incumbents. And they don't just have trillions of dollars on the line. As I'm going to be talking about in tomorrow morning's video, they have quadrillions of dollars on the line. That's what we're talking about. Now, I have about 5-10 minutes left to go here, folks. Let me finish my adult beverage. I appreciate everyone for coming by here on tonight's show. If you appreciate the update, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I got another update dropping at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. But let me finish my adult beverage and let me answer some Q&A to finish off this session. I appreciate all of you guys for stopping by. What are we working with, folks? As if XRP and XLM will eventually be the CBDC of the world with social credit digitized system, aka tracking and tracing. Paul, it's a good point. That's why I got my silver. Where did I put my silver? My silver's gone. I don't have my silver to hold up. Shoot. But that's what I do. When I want to go private, and for me, I have nothing to hide. I've always been clear about that. I have nothing to hide. But when I do want to have a little something, I got a little something. And it's nothing nefarious. It's called food. It's called essentials. It's called the Second Amendment. It's called freedom seeds. It's called silver. It's called gold. And I haven't bought any gold. I got to get this. But this cracked me up. One of our community members sent me the Utah Goldbacks. So now I am officially an owner of some gold. Okay. Got some Goldbacks. That's fun. And if you guys are looking to get any precious metals, any cryptocurrencies, if you're looking for good wallets, we have some linked up at my website, zachrector.com. Make sure you guys check that out. You ever have folks up on a panel? I do a daily broadcast and you seem to know your stuff. Paul, that's good. You can get in touch with me at my website. By the way, guys, that's the only place to get in direct contact with me is through my website. I no longer respond to DMs on social media platforms because of the scammers and the impersonators. No DMs on social media, period. You want to get in touch? My website, Patreon, that's it. Now, Johnny Laker, I see you with the 5 spot. Zach, I like gold, but wouldn't silver be a better ROI? That's why I've stacked so much of it, right? That's why I've stacked silver exclusively. It's not that I'm against gold. It's just gold for me is a hedge if you got serious wealth to protect. I don't have serious wealth to protect. I'm building. I'm a little guy. I'm just a little guy who keeps on building and building. And we're getting started with something. But I don't got M's in the bank account that I need to hedge my bets with some gold. For me, silver has been enough. My savings account is silver. And I stay liquid with cash, USD. And then I've been investing in risk on with XRP and digital assets. And then everything else is focus on business, focus on revenue, focus on income. I do think that silver is going to provide a better ROI. But Paul, to your question, yes, I have Twitter Spaces where I bring folks up. I have a weekly call within my Discord group where folks can have a conversation with me. We usually spend about an hour or so every Saturday morning in our Discord weekly call. So that's one place to come join the conversation. If you have a show, you want to get me on your show, just send a request to my email. Just go to my website, ZachRector.com. But yeah, I'm always down for the conversation. Goldbacks cost twice the amount of what you can cash them in for. You pay 200% of its gold value. That's the thing, is I'm still new to the precious metals deal. When I got these, I was like, what the heck are these? Are these real? I didn't even think that they were real. But what I'm excited for is what is coming is the tokenization of gold, as HSBC just announced this week. And so the ability for us to spend our gold is already here. We're seeing some platforms already offer that. And then the ability with platforms like Uphold to be able to send some money towards an investment in precious metals, in cryptocurrency, in equities. Maybe Uphold will do a deal with Link2 and then you can get some private equity. Oh, wait, they already did. Uphold's just killing it right now. And if you missed the Uphold CEO interview that I did, I had Simon McLaughlin on my show. That's in the interview playlist on my channel. And like I said, we have upcoming interviews this Sunday. I have Reggie Middleton lined up for a Twitter space. That's at noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 o'clock Eastern. Reggie Middleton, DeFi King. Make sure you guys come check that out. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to be having Andy Sheckman back, a highly requested guest, one of our favorites. And he's actually one of my affiliates for precious metals as well. If you're looking to get precious metals, our good friend Andy has been hooking up so many people in our community. So you can just take advantage of that by going to my website, ZachRector.com. And we also, if you have a 401k retirement account where you're looking to make an allocation to precious metals, we can help facilitate that as well too. Like I said, website just got revamped. Go check it out. That's ZachRector.com. I'm still new to precious metals though, so I'm still learning so much of this with the gold backs, with the this and the that. I've been keeping it simple. I got my 10 ounces, I got my 1 ounces. Looking to make a few other allocations though as well. Joe says gold backs are fun to look at. I know. That's for me. Yeah. I love it. XDC has no cap from MetaMan. Really? MetaMan, do you have a prediction for XDC for us? I want to hear your XDC prediction, MetaMan. What happens if XDC captures 1% of the 30 trillion of global trade? Answer, XDC equals $21. Whoa. Elias drops the $21 calculation there if we get just 1%. And this is what I'm talking about, folks. We got so much money to move on over to DLT. Goldbacks are legal tender in Utah. I know. I couldn't believe it. Utah Goldback, specific legal tender instrument. 1/1000th of a troy ounce. Do I think that there will be a settlement soon, or will it progress to the Supreme Court? I think that a settlement is coming in soon. I think that a settlement is coming in soon for XRP, and I think that significant price action is coming in soon for XRP as well. Doesn't mean that we don't go back test, but we are set to go to new all-time high and beyond with ease. Tokenizing something, how does this work? Can you explain, Zach? Martin, that's a good question. Right now with the XRPL, we have what are called issued assets. So for example, if I wanted to issue some silver on the XRPL, I could say, hey guys, I've partnered up with someone who has institutional grade custody for silver. And what we're going to do is we're going to issue a token on the XRPL that represents your share of this reserve of silver that is being held in this vault. And what I've done is I've put a chip on this silver. And so you can actually physically track and make sure and confirm and verify that the silver is in the vault that I'm telling you, the vault that's holding this silver. And you're going to get an issued, asset that's going to represent a portion of that silver in my vault. Right? That's an example, right? But we're going to see every single commodity will be tokenized and represented on blockchain DLT technology. And so think of a company that wants to issue shares of a gold mine through a tokenization offering, right? So you buy one token gives you a share of the gold mining operation that this company has just tokenized, right? You name it. Everything gets tokenized here as we move to an internet of value. What role does XLM play in your opinion? Retail payments, cross-border payments. It's getting some issued assets on the XLM ledger, the Stellar ledger, that are similar to stocks. I think that you will see equities issued on XLM. I think that you will see you're going to see a lot issued on XLM, and you're going to see a lot move on XLM. It's my number 2 holding, and I think that XLM plays a significant role in the new financial system. There's a lot of folks that think that XLM handles the new stock markets going to XLM. I don't think that that's the case. I think that equities will be issued on Stellar Network. They already are. Securities will be issued, real estate, everything. See, these blockchains, they're not designed, they're not meant, they're not going to be, XLM just does retail cross-border payments and XRP only does wholesale payments. That's not the case. XRP is going to get a little bit of everything. You can issue whatever the heck you want on the XRPL right now. You want to tokenize a piece of real estate. Hey, we're going to buy, me and my friends are going to buy a piece of real estate, and we're going to tokenize it, and we're going to, bring in some investors, and we're going to issue tokens that are going to represent a share of that piece of real estate. This is what's coming. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to avert securities laws. If you are issuing a security, if you're issuing an investment contract that does meet the prongs of the Howey test, you need to register with the SEC. There's a way and a path to do it. It's very simple. So the problem is not registering with the SEC and issuing a security. It's understanding when and where you've created that securities offering. That's the type of clarity that we're looking for going forward. Is the underlying asset a security? Is the underlying piece of real estate a security? No. Never in the history of the Howey test is the underlying asset a security. So if you go to tokenize anything, a piece of real estate, gold, silver, oil, never, ever is the silver, gold, oil, or real estate the security. What is the security is the investment contract. Hey, if you pay $10,000, you can get one piece of this tokenized real estate offering. There's only 35 spots available because this is a 506B. We're doing non-accredited. There's a limit of 35 investors. This is one fund that you can do. And, so we're going to split this up 35 ways, and each share is $10,000. We're going to go buy a piece of property for $350,000. That's just a simple example, right? But what we're going to have to look at here is the ability for us to issue these. You're going to need these platforms that are going to help you and offer the backing. And we're getting that through platforms like Link2. We're getting that through platforms like Uphold. We're going to be talking about in tomorrow's video on Securency. Securency is the company that the DTCC just acquired, and they're on the forefront of issuing basically security tokens, basically tokenizing securities. And the DTCC moves $2.5 quadrillion worth of securities per year. Janet says, great content. Thanks the last 2 days. I haven't been able to buy XRP on Uphold. I can confirm my transaction. I get a message saying transaction has been expired. Anyone have this problem working with support? I'll tell you what I do. With these exchanges, I load up multiple options. So if I have to, if I'm having issues. Now, the exchanges that I've had, Uphold doesn't recognize my small credit union that I bank at. And so I can only use my debit card transactions for Uphold. I have to use a different bank account if I want to load up. Say I want to send $5,000 to Uphold. I have to use a separate bank account. I have to use a separate method because my small little credit union that I bank at, they aren't recognized by Uphold. So I have to use my debit card. If I want to just buy $500 at a time, I can use my debit card. But if I wanted to load up Uphold, then I have to use my other bank. And so this is why I've been saying, we've been talking about this, and I hope that you guys have been taking advantage of it while we've had this opportunity here, is you want multiple bank accounts, we want multiple exchanges, we want multiple on-ramps, off-ramps, and abilities to move our funds around. Because when one exchange goes down, maybe you can use a different one. And we're talking about buying, we're talking about selling, we're talking about pulling fiat US dollars out. You want to have options. This is why I'm a big fan of Uphold right now, because they're a prime broker dealer. They can issue securities. They're giving you representation for precious metals. They're giving you the option to tap into their liquidity, which is relationships with 30 plus different crypto exchanges. Uphold is not an exchange. They are a prime broker. You put in your order on Uphold, they're finding liquidity from 30 plus exchanges. Big fan. Stuart drops a 1776 chat. Stuart, I appreciate you, my friend. Good to see you, brother. Freedom, but first you need to put your seatbelts on. Turbulence coming. Big time turbulence coming. Absolutely. Absolutely. Joe says, I'm going to tokenize my trip to Las Vegas 2024. It's going to be a party, man. XRP Vegas 2024 going to be an absolute party. All right, folks, I got just a few more minutes left. Drop a few more comments down below. Like I said, if you want to get tapped in with our community, it's all over at my website, ZachRector.com. Let me take a few more questions before I wrap up this session. If you haven't already, please smash that thumbs up for me. When will we see the XLM pullback? XRP and XLM, right now they've been pumping. If we see the broader crypto space come back down, we will see, XRP and XLM come back down. But for the meantime, XRP and XLM have been holding really strong, haven't they? XLM maybe for derivatives. Well, that's the thing, is a derivative, for all intents and purposes, the IOUs that are already issued on the XRP ledger are derivatives because they're just an instrument that represents something else. That's all a derivative is. So you can have a derivative of a stock, a commodity, or a cryptocurrency. You can have a derivative of a piece of real estate. You can have a derivative of bonds, right? You can have a derivative of anything you want. and you can issue whatever you want on the Stellar ledger. You can issue whatever you want on the XRP ledger. And so for me, I think that a lot of folks have gotten confused because they think that every coin has to have just one use case and that's it, right? XRP for wholesale payments, XLM for retail payments. What was the story? XDC is going to be backed by whatever. What it really is that the company Zenfin is targeting trade finance, which is a $19 to $30 trillion industry, depending on who you ask. It's a significant industry. And so this is why we take a look at XDC and we say, okay, this is kind of a little opportunity here. And we see the XDC, if it even just gets a portion of these markets, can move up significantly. But all XDC, XLM, XRP have kind of been moving in tandem. I don't know if XDC did a pump recently. Let me pull up the charts here real quick. Any final questions tonight? Zach, thanks so much. I'm learning a lot listening to you. Thank you, Brockman Group. I appreciate that comment. Now, remember, we've actually been in the middle of the pump tonight, guys. I forgot. As we started this episode, I totally forgot. We were pumping 36,600 for Bitcoin, 1919 for Ethereum, and XRP back up to 69 cents. XRP's up 14% in the last week. So Stellar's at the number 22 spot at 12 cents, 12.89, up 6% on the week. Let's take a look at Stellar here, right? Pretty massive move for Stellar, all the way from basically 11 cents up to 12.89 here. But at one point it was trading up at 13.5 cents. Very interesting there for Stellar. Love to see it. But what did XDC do? Let's take a look at XDC. Quant, what has Quant done? Quant's been climbing back up to 107. Okay, it was back at about $100 earlier today. It's up 7% today. That's pretty significant. And we had it just sub, $96 just last week. Now we're already back up to 108 right now. That's pretty good for Quant. Love to see it. I don't own any Quant, but that's cute. Quant is cute. Now, Hedera, H-bar, also pumping about 12% on the week. 12.5% on the week. Look at that one. It was all the way down at basically 5 cents. Now it's all the way up here, 0.06. Okay. Up 12%, 12.5% on the week. Love to see it. Now, where did our XDC go? Algorand also pumping 14.5% on the week. Just a big time bounce for the utility cryptocurrencies that we've known to come and love. There it is. There's our XDC. Up 6.19% on the week for our XDC. Back up to 5 cents. Now, we see earlier this year, it's so funny. Back in July, we got that ruling from Judge Torres, and XRP, XLM, and XDC, they all ripped. And XDC went from literally 3 cents all the way up to 8 cents, right? Just a massive gain. And it's already up 93% on the year, right? This is what we forget, is that our crypto investments are still up significantly. XRP up 77.71% right now. 77% on the year, right? And it was even up way more when we were back up at basically $1 back in July, but that was very short-lived. But even with that most recent pump that we're at right now, we're up 77% on the year for our XRP. We're up 32% on the year for Stellar. Now, compared to the traditional markets, that's not too bad. We don't need to complain there. reading some of your guys' comments. Appreciate you guys so much. I'm going to have to wrap up this session though, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for all the love and support tonight. It's been incredible. Like I said, we have additional educational content that we are dropping exclusively for our private community. You get access to the private community by going to my website and then join the Patreon group. And then if you want to get access to the Discord group, you can. And that is a private group where we have weekly calls, but we've been dropping educational content. Our first of many Tactical Wealth Lessons was on trust, but we got a lot more coming that way, and you can get on in, and you can actually save 13% right now when you sign up with your annual membership. So I'm going to be running that special till the end of this year. When you sign up for 1 year, you can save 13% on your membership dues, get tapped in with us, and I would love to have you join us for our weekly calls. I would love to get in connected with you, so please do so. Take advantage of that. We're going to be running that till the end of the year, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and show us a little bit of love in the chat here tonight. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you in the next one. By the way, fresh video dropping tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern. God bless all of you. I'll see you in the next one.